Welcome to No Apology with Emily and Chris, and thank you, seriously, thank you for just deciding to spend a little time with us today. We've got a really good show. Don't forget home base, freshroadmedia.com. That's the place for you to go to find out all other things about Chris and Emily, about the people we have on the show, about our mission, everything.
No Apology with Emily and Chris, bringing light to your world honestly and authentically.
Oh, honestly, try that again.
Authentically and honestly.
Try that again.
Okay, here it is. For 17 years, our positioning statement was the Chris and Emily Show. Laugh louder, dig deeper, live larger in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Right.
Here's the new one. You ready?
Yep,
This is still working. I mean, we can pull it back if we need to. No Apology with Emily and Chris, bringing light to your world honestly and authentically.
All right. Take three. Third time's the charm.
Okay, which one you want first? Honest or authentic? Which one should come first?
Authentically.
Oh, okay.
Like Catherine Hepburn over there. It's authentic. All right. Third time.
If you're going to do Catherine Hepburn, do it for real. You got to. Okay, I want you to say, as Catherine Hepburn, bringing light to your world honestly and authentically. As Catherine Hepburn.
I don't know if I can. If it's bad, can Mike edit this out?
Yes, Mike can edit it out if it's bad. But all right, hit it. Hit it.
What am I supposed to say? I don't even know what I'm supposed to say.
Bringing light to your world honestly and authentically.
Okay. I'll see. I haven't done her in years.
Yeah.
So,
all right, let's give it a shot.
Bringing light to the world honestly and authentically. Just an idea. That was the rest of the text. Okay, let me try it again. Bringing light to the world honestly and authentically.
Okay, now we got to do it as Edith Bunker.
No, we're going to go on.
No. If you don't do Edith Bunker, I'm sorry. I can't do the rest of my show. I can't do the rest of what I'm bringing light to the world.
She's harder to do.
Is she on the spot?
Yeah.
Okay, the question is, do we use authentically and honestly or honestly and authentically? Which one flows better?
Oh, I don't know. We'll figure it out. There you go. I'm done. That is the end of the show. Thank you very much.
Mic drop. Ba-doom, boom. No,
Curtain, please. Thank
you.
Apology
with Emily and Chris.
What are we
bringing
doing?
Light to your world authentically and honestly and without apology. How's that?
I like that.
We are about the truth of God's word. We believe the Bible is inerrant. It is perfect. It is complete. And it is our final authority for our life on earth. And so this show is about Christian joy, the joy of the Lord in our life while we live it out. And then, of course, Bible apologetics, defending the faith and explaining it. So I've got two props. I'm wearing both of them right now.
You are a walking prop.
That is going to be the first segment that we are going to talk about. And it's called Perception.
Perception.
And intentionality of your perception. Do you fade, do you capitulate, or do you stand firm knowing that you'd rather fail trying what you believe is going to be the right way, or would you rather bail on that to have moderate success in something you don't necessarily believe in? That's the question. So we're going to talk about it through the lens of perception. And I want to start out with, I want to eventually get to Deion Sanders and Colorado football. This is the Tuesday after Labor Day. Okay. By the way, this show is now, we kind of found our groove, Wednesday mornings at the latest. You should have it. If you're audio listeners, wherever you get podcast content, and if you are video listeners on Rumble and YouTube, it should be available by Wednesday morning. And so we're just going to keep building the show with that platform. But on Tuesday after Labor Day, we're recording. We're in the studios. We're talking about it. And something big happened with Colorado football that I want to tie into this. And there's also some things that have happened with my wardrobe that I'm wearing that I want to tie into it.
A wardrobe malfunction?
And it comes down to hearing truth, accepting truth, and is your perception of what you have worth standing on? Is it a hill worth dying on?
Okay.
And the truth of Jesus Christ is, and some people think it isn't. Fashion is not, and some people think it is. And so I wanted to use that as my apologetic teaching moment today, and I'm out on the edge because I haven't really totally thought this through. So I don't know if it'll work or not. But anyway, are you ready?
I'm ready. So let me get this straight. We're going to be talking about football today?
It's going to come in.
Football comes into
football
play.
Is not the point. The point is what's going on with the coach, the players, the media, the relationship with the school, all of that. College football had a transformation smackdown on Saturday, and it was amazing. Okay. Whether you like Deion Sanders or Colorado football makes no difference. This is a human story about being intentional, believing what you know to be true, and then watching it play out.
All right, so holding fast to what you believe, what you truly believe is true. And
being flexible enough to have other people influence you appropriately. Sometimes it's appropriate, sometimes it's not. How do you know the difference? That's called discernment. You can't have discernment if your perception of everything is skewed. Now, this is not about saved or unsaved. You can have saved people that are so far out of alignment that they look unsaved, but Jesus is going to make that call. Mm-hmm. And then you can have people who don't really walk with the Lord, but they have given him everything in their infancy, and they don't look like Christians, but they are. So that's why we try to just have grace for everybody. But where do you want to start? Would you like to start with the wristband I'm wearing, or would you like to start with the shirt I'm wearing? Because I got to start there.
Well, most obviously, let's look at the Sidewinders shirt you're wearing.
Oh, yeah, the Sidewinders shirt.
Big old snake on it, wrapped
snake
around a bat.
Yeah.
And it's an Arizona team.
Yeah.
The Sidewinders. You're wearing your jumper today.
I'm wearing my jumper, yes.
That's what they call them in England, is jumpers, not jerseys. I made that mistake the other day or whatever.
Kits are jerseys.
Kits are jerseys?
Kits are jerseys. Jumpers are sweatshirts and sweaters.
Sweaters and sweaters.
And sweatshirts are like hoodies. They're jumpers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thank you.
Anyway, so the Sidewinders were the AAA team for the Arizona Diamondbacks. They were based in Tucson. In fact, Mike Shaw was with us when the Newsboys did their big show in Tucson.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
because
at the baseball
Sidewinders baseball thing. And that was at that time that would have definitely been top 5 in my career. It'll never leave top 10 of my career. What God's allowed me to see and do. But we watched 15,000 people come, and me and Peter Furler from the Newsboys kind of co-emceed the thing. And I kind of set them up, and then Peter gave the message and the altar call, and then I did the final prayer. 700 people came to know the Lord that night. I mean, it was a beautiful thing.
Wonderful event.
Wonderful event to work alongside the Newsboys in that intimate way. And the Sidewinders were part of it because it was their stadium. And so they gave me this jersey and told me I could throw out the first pitch. So I'm throwing.
Ooh, that's a really good topic for the show.
No,
we're going to talk about that.
That's
right?
not today.
Oh.
That's not today because the whole first pitch thing. We got to do it a couple different times, and there's stories behind it.
Chris got outpitched by a cow. He doesn't want to go there.
Don't even go there about me getting outpitched by the Chick-fil-A cow because that didn't happen the way she says it. But that's a whole other story. Anywho, so I'm wearing this jersey, which was gifted to me, and I didn't put it on knowing I was going to this event, but because of the stuff we were doing around the baseball, that season of life, I ended up with this jersey on, sharing a Bible study with about 20 people somewhere. And for whatever reason, I mean, this would happen to us all the time, Emily. We'd get invited places, and I was just naive. I'd just go, I just went anywhere people wanted me to share the gospel.
Hey, Chris, will you? Yes.
I probably. Can I bring my kids? Is there money? Can you get my kids ice cream? Is there money involved?
And Emily will come with me. Wink, wink.
That's a joke because I was so poor on balancing our money. I didn't know what people actually got paid to go share the gospel. I didn't realize that for years. I missed out on hundreds and hundreds of dollars in honorariums, not knowing what I was doing. No. Anywho, I'm at this place, and this lady was very offended that I was wearing this because she said, and I mean, she was hot. She was hot. That how dare I bring Satan on my shirt when I'm going to try to share the gospel? Oh. So apparently, this baseball jersey
was an affront to her,
which was given to me by secular people who run a baseball team because we were having Christian night at the ballpark. I was throwing out the first pitch. And by the way, we got to do a lot of cool things. We watched at least 700 people come to know the Lord that night.
Yeah, that's what you said, yeah.
And so I don't look at this shirt as if it is. I mean, the snake is smiling. He's like a little cartoon.
He's a happy snake.
Yeah, where is he?
He's a friendly, friendly snake. Yeah.
He wants to be your buddy. And so on one hand, perception is everything. If this lady felt that way, I have never worn this shirt. I want to say out in public again, but I've never worn it anywhere where there's any kind of Christian anything ever. Oh, and I never will.
Okay. It's stuck with you.
Because why would I want somebody to possibly stumble on something so minor to me? Now, my attitude based on my perception could be, grow up, lady, take a chill pill. But, the Bible says try to be all things to all people. It's a shirt. Slow your roll, Chris. Change your perspective and understand that, no, you probably shouldn't preach in a Sidewinders jersey if it gives somebody that. I'm sure she doesn't use a dirt devil, and devil food cake probably renders her catatonic. I don't know. But you want to try to be there for all people. Yes. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is perception, being willing to change, is this little thing here. I don't even know how this camera works, but this is a steel cross that has steel ball bearings welded on the top, and then it's got the chainmail on it. And a listener who said that our show changed his life, and that him and his wife would listen every single day, and it changed their marriage. And he gave this gift to me. Now, these things at that time would, even lesser than this, would sell for like $100, maybe $150. And he made this for me and gave it to me. So I ended up wearing this. If you see any old pictures of me doing comedy or preaching, chances are I've got this wristband on. It just became like part of my costume brand, if you know, for lack of a better term. And then I was going to put this on just, like a year ago. And Emily told me, she said, nah, what did you call it? Tired?
It's a little dated.
A little dated.
It's a little bit dated now, yeah.
Okay, so it's really not in fashion anymore.
Right.
So
like the men's jeans with all that embroidery all over the pockets,
You mean the rock revival jeans that
I don't know what they're
we
called.
had to
just look like, grandma went to town.
I had a couple pair of rock revival jeans and
they're cool. I like them. Don't get me wrong, but they've just kind of fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, the term image consultant kind of makes me like nauseous. I throw up a little in my throat.
Okay.
But we've had them, okay?
Yes.
We've had them. And anyway, I just like to be self-contained and have fun. And I love this wristband.
Yeah.
This wristband, but I won't wear it now because my wife has said,
I said one thing.
that I make it look a little dated. Now, there's a part of me, now stay with me now.
I am.
There's a part of me that knows that I can wear this wristband anytime I want. And there's a part of me that knows that it'll look the way it's supposed to look. And then there's a part of me that doesn't care. So I'll probably wear it again eventually. I have to make that decision based on my perception of what your perception has been to me and who you are. Now, you've been my wife for 38 years, so we don't make it 38 years unless I respect that perception, right? So,
Yeah,
there's
true.
respect there. So there are times you tell me that, and I basically tell you to pound sand. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm just going to do my own thing.
Well, you don't say pound sand.
In my
but
head,
you're like,
I do.
Okay, I heard your complaint. Doesn't really change how I'm going to do things.
I mean,
yeah, I get it.
You're the one who threw away my Dale Earnhardt T-shirt.
Okay,
so
I never threw
you
that
threw
away.
it away, and you
I'm
were
sorry
gunning
if
for that shirt.
It disintegrated to the point that it was like spider webs, like that. It disappeared. It just was.
Hey.
Oh no, that.
Look.
Yeah, I did throw that one away.
Yeah, look,
I did throw that one away.
But
I have a reason for it.
What I'm saying is it's usually my decision, but you sometimes have taken the decision out of my way.
Sometimes I have to.
And if you're gunning for my wristband,
no,
I'm going to keep it hidden.
No,
So,
I'm not.
But here's the point. Being intentional in what you want to do for Christ as you live for him, you have to be in God's word, for one.
True.
And when God lays something on his word and he says it, you have to stand firm. But there are some things that are not biblical. There are some things that we do not have to fight about. There are some things that we can just accept. It's outdated. Set it aside. I'll give you an example.
All right, lay it on us.
All right. If all of a sudden somebody tried to make the case that all Christian music that K-Love is playing right now is awful. It's Jesus is my boyfriend music. If you don't want to go back and play old DC Talk, old Petra, you're horrible. Okay? Now, that's a perception you can either take or leave. You follow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why would you take that position? Well, if you were starting a Christian classic rock station, you'd take that position. You see what I'm saying?
If it's not your milieu.
Another one. The greatest preacher in the last 200 years was Charles Spurgeon. And then the next comment is, no, it wasn't. It was A.W. Tozer. You're both losers. It was Billy Graham. And this went on a Facebook string, 36 comments back and forth of Christians fighting over who they thought was the greatest preacher.
Yeah.
And by the way, all of the people mentioned would have been embarrassed that their name was brought up in this way because they didn't want to be even known as a great preacher. They just want to make Jesus' name great.
True. I would say that's what makes him so great.
Now let's bring in Colorado. Okay, we're going to bring in Colorado football team.
Colorado football. Here we go.
Here's the thing. If you publicly said that this shirt was offensive and you publicly said that this wristband was too outdated and I decided to say I'm going to wear it at this next big event and it's going to and not only that, it's going to be fine, and you're like, no, people are probably going to boo. Okay. If I did and it was a success and then everybody wanted their Sidewinder shirts and their metal wristbands, you would take a different tone,
I would have
right?
to. Yeah, I would have to.
Okay, this is very generic to get to the Deion Sanders because what we watched on Saturday was an absolute favor of God smackdown, in my opinion.
All right, tell us what happened.
First of all, Deion Sanders is the most flamboyant football player to ever come down the pike. Okay, I mean, he was such a turnoff because he was so full of himself when he was drafted. He was drafted right alongside Barry Sanders and right alongside Troy Aikman. I mean, he played 14 years in the NFL, and
I was going to say he was good.
And in that time, he's the only one in history.
He had a reason to.
He's the only one in history who hit a World Series home run and scored a touchdown in the NFL in the same week.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, he played
him.
for the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Falcons at the same time.
Extremely gifted
14
man.
years, he knows what he's doing. In the middle of all of that, Dion came to know the Lord. Okay,
right.
And I understand it was from in some ministries that I don't really claim. There's some. Either way, you can tell he's been changed by God.
He's got a testimony, yeah.
He's been changed by God. Now, until you walk in that footsteps, until you are a multimillionaire, until your face is on every publication in America and everybody knows your name and you can't do anything, you can't judge people for how they walk their life out with Christ in that area. Give them a little bit of a break. They're not going to well, how can he be such a blowhard if he's and so boisterous and so egomaniac if he loves Jesus? It's like, do you have any idea that Dion's ego, which right now is at like a 5, which is majorly off-putting in snowflake America, he used to be a 10. Why don't we look at 10 deflated down to 5 as a positive thing?
Yeah, because Chris, when the boys were younger, I was much more into football. I knew the players and yada, yada, yada. And I've fallen out of that as the kids left home and so on, so I don't pay attention. But I do remember Deion Sanders and his rise to the top, and he was very good, but he would come on TV, and it was just, particularly as a mother, having her boys, young boys watching this guy, it was just, like you said, such a turnoff. But he did come to know the Lord. He professed to come to know Jesus Christ, and you have to, if you're going to be completely honest, you have to acknowledge you saw a change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He might be still very outspoken. He has the same personality as he had before, but he is not the same
not even close.
person that he was before.
So now he wants to be a head coach in college football. He feels like that's his next step. He did the NFL, he did the broadcasting thing. So the next step is he wants to coach college football. Nobody wants him. So he says, listen, my brand of college football is a winning brand. So he goes to Jackson State, a small school. And his son comes and plays for him. And the number one recruit in the country said, I want to play for him. Turned down Alabama, turned down Auburn, turned down all the big schools. Ohio State, went to Jackson State.
Let that settle in your brain.
Yeah, turned down Nick Saban.
He turned down Alabama.
Well, I thought Auburn was going to hire Dion coming out of Jackson State because Dion had made it clear he's going to Division I. Yeah. Well, the Colorado Buffaloes are 1-11 last year. 1 win, 11 losses last year.
Okay.
They came to Dion and they said, listen, Dion wants $29 million. That's the deal.
Ooh.
And they said, we don't have it. We're going to get it for you, though. We're going to sign you to. They don't even have enough money.
Right.
They sold out their stadium and the boosters paid for it. So they signed Deion Sanders to $29 million contract without the money to pay him because they knew what his energy might bring. And Deion in his first press conference.
Jesus wants.
So now, how much you got to believe in your program that on the first press conference at an organization where they don't even have enough money to pay you, you say, look, see this kid over here? Yeah, he's your quarterback. No, I know he's my son, but he's your quarterback.
Right.
And trust me when I say this, he's going to be the starter. I'll make him earn it, but that's your quarterback. And 86 new players, unheard of in college football. And there was a meme out there, the one that I liked the most, which was, can't wait for the internet to blow up with Coach Prime's pregame speech. Yeah, they're going to go out and get trounced by TCU by 40, but that pregame speech is going to be something to behold.
Okay.
They beat them.
Yeah.
They beat them. Not only that, they showed everybody. Now, do you think they have a little running back in the backfield, and I can't remember his name. I think his last name's Edwards. I got to look it up. But this is my guy, man. I mean, and he's been playing for Deion Sanders since he was 4 years old on all the little league teams and everything. So he's been
really,
and so he came from Jackson State. So they're like this little Jackson State team. No, they're coming. They're going to play with the big boys. And so the point is that Deion knew what he knew, and he would not back down. It didn't matter who. It didn't matter if it was good. It didn't matter if it was bad. This is the plan, and we're sticking to it. I'm going to be very intentional, okay? If my shirt or my wristband was Colorado football, okay, we would never wear it again or we'd wear it every day. You know, there's no gray area. Does that?
Right. Yeah.
And the Christian faith is so much like that.
Yeah.
When you are walking with Jesus, there can be intentionality, and you know talent. You've been in the NFL for 14 years. You've been doing this your whole life, and you've been grooming these kids that have been hanging around your sons.
Yeah.
You're about to take them to Division I college football, And it was amazing to see. And then here's the other thing.
Okay.
Dion got really snippy in the press conference. Okay.
You mean like after the game?
After the game. And I loved every minute of it. But there were some people, some Christianese folks, I just don't think that's very Christ-like that he would call out those reporters. When he called out those reporters, that made me really think that maybe he's giving Christianity a black eye.
Okay, so how did he call out the reporters?
Okay, first of all, one person tried to talk about how positive the game was, and Dion said, "Nope, you don't get to say that. You don't get to say it. No, I heard what you said before. I heard what you said before." And then he started using the phrase, "I kept receipts. I kept receipts." And so another person would say something and he would answer the question and then cut him off, say, "No, I got receipts. I got receipts." In other words, all of you reporters who trashed this idea that it was absolute garbage are now standing there watching one of the greatest moments it changed college football.
It did.
I'm just telling you.
We
saw a two-way player. We saw something that we haven't seen in my lifetime. And I don't care if Colorado doesn't win another game. This happened this last weekend.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see somebody who knew what they were talking about when everybody said they didn't know what they were talking about stand firm and get the win. I want every Christian hearing my voice to know you stand firm, you will get the win.
Right.
Be intentional. Be flexible where it's available to you. Be smart. Hey, I don't need this wristband. My significance is who died on the cross, not some metal cross on my wrist. I can let that go, but I will never let go the stance of being intentionally in serving Jesus. Am I making sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. There's a couple things in there as we were talking about it, because it does apply whether you like football or not, whether you're a Deion Sanders fan or not. It really does apply. First of all, just the aspect of winning. Mm-hmm. Winning is the whole point, And so I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, when it came to the whole college way of doing football.
College way of doing football.
You know what goes on behind the scenes.
I used to host a college sports talk show. I died a little inside when you said it like that.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, pulling these teams together. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like Deion is going to buck the system. I'm not going to do it that way.
Yeah, but he doesn't do that just to buck the system.
No.
There has to be an intentional reason behind it. That's what I'm saying, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
There was a belief behind it.
It's about winning. Mm-hmm. And so he's bucking the system because it's about the winning. And some people will have even gone so far as to say, well, winning, I don't like competition and you can't have winners and losers because we're all winners in God's eyes,
You're doing the voice.
Anyway.
I suppose Edith Bunker released something in you, I guess.
Maybe. I don't know. But that's not true because the Bible likens that whole spiritual walk, that whole spiritual battle, he likens it to winning the race. He likens it to athletic prowess and competition. And he literally uses the words win. If you go to someone who's tangled in sin and you confront them and you talk to them and they come out of it, you have won them. You won them. Yeah. Win the race. Run the race to win. I mean, these are things that are very biblical.
Won't we get participation trophies?
No. There are no
you get the crown of life because you ran to win. And then you realize the strength to do that running came from Jesus, so you throw the crown at his feet. It's a beautiful thing.
Exactly. So that is really an inspiring story. And I would love to talk even more about it because it's one of those things that the more you think about it, the more things come to mind and the deeper it really becomes. And so I'm really glad to see stuff like that happen. Chris, both of us, but even more so you love to see people just shake things up.
Yeah.
And Deion Sanders has always been good at that.
Well, I tell you what.
It's fun to see a man, you get to watch him over the course of his life. Once I was this, now I'm this, and now look it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to prove out those things that you truly believe is really a glorious thing.
Well, we were getting ready to record, and I said, listen, I want to start an opening segment for people to really know that they need to stand firm while they're flexible. And Emily's like, oh, how are you going to do that? I said, I want to use a wristband, baseball jersey, and Deion Sanders. And she's like, I I want to see you stick the landing on that.
I know.
So did
take your Ritalin before we go, dear. You did.
All right.
You did. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. And so there is a time to hold fast. There is a time to say no.
Yep.
I don't care what you reporters are going to say. I don't care what these people are going to say. I'm going to do it because I know it's right and good and true. And then when that bears out, that's the revelation of truth.
You know, the great theologian Kenny Rogers once said, you got to know when to hold them, and you got to know when to fold them. You got to know when to walk away, and you got to know when to run. That is such truth.
Yeah.
Not just for poker or card games, but for life in general.
I love it.
And so, yeah, that's what it is. Hey, we've got Claire Petersen waiting in the wings. Mike Shaw is also going to be on the show today with Right On, Way Off. We've got so much happening. Don't go anywhere. We're back in just around the corner a little bit. Right after this, I don't know. We don't have sponsors, so see you in a sec.
No Apology with Emily and Chris. Thanks for being a part of the show and for listening. Don't forget you can go to freshroadmedia.com, leave your comments, leave your suggestions, leave your thoughts, whatever you want to do. That is home base.
Yeah.
freshroadmedia.com.
We are bringing light to your world honestly and authentically. Ooh. No Apology with Emily and Chris. And we were talking about not having sponsors. Well, we do have a sponsor.
Yeah.
It's called the Bible Idiots Walk in the Holy Land Tour. And you see it right on the screen that you video watchers, listeners, audio. Hey, go to freshroadmedia.com, look up the Israel trip. It's December 2nd, 2024, and we are taking deposits right now. So, hey, I guess we do have a little bit of a sponsor.
Yeah,
our Israel
there
trip.
we go. Yeah,
Maranatha Tours, Fresh Road Media, and Bible Idiots together with Pastor Chris Danielson taking you to Israel 2024, December. Get on board now.
Be praying about it.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on with the show, we have another special guest joining us. You have seen her before if you are a longtime listener to the show. Claire Petersen is joining us, and I'm so glad to have Claire on because you know, school is starting and we're hearing about this lockdown that they're all preparing for and everything. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, you know what? I think it's time we bring Claire in. The doctor's in the house.
Yeah,
Claire Petersen,
we got to name this segment.
I know, we do have to name the segment because Claire Petersen, thanks for being with us, first of all.
Mm-hmm. You're very welcome.
And I'll call you Claire from now on. I won't keep calling you Claire Petersen.
Would you prefer doctor or your highness? Which one do you?
Your highness, always.
always.
I believe it's your ladyship.
Yeah, her ladyship is here in the house to bring us wisdom. Dr. Claire.
But no, it's seriously help because we're going to talk about something really seriously here.
Yeah, I know. We got to get serious.
We're going to talk about a little bit about what's going on in the medical industry, particularly vaccinations, because we know it's coming. It's going to be a hot topic once again. And Claire, you've really done the research, haven't you?
I have. So it all started. I feel like I should preface this with everything I say today is not medical advice. Take it for what it is. Mm-hmm. Discuss it with your doctor.
Void where prohibited without the express written consent of Major League Baseball and this local affiliate. Dr. Claire is not responsible for anything she says on the Emily Show.
All right. But seriously, right. Every person is different.
Yeah.
Every person is different. So it isn't formal medical advice, but it is just, talking about what's really going on around us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So actually, you kind of got more interested in this, particularly vaccinations, with your own child's experience, didn't you?
I did, yes. So my son Tucker was born January 2020, and I always knew from the time I was growing up that I wanted to be in the medical field. Believed that vaccines worked, believed that they were for everybody. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until he was born and was injured by a vaccine that I actually took a deep dive into it. So
what happened? You said he was what by a vaccine?
Injured.
Yes. I didn't hear that correctly. Sorry. I've even got headphones on. I'm
what
mold.
Happened?
Oh, what happened?
He received his first 2 doses of vaccines, his first rounds of vaccines, and the live rotavirus vaccine actually wound up causing rotavirus. He wound up with blood and mucus in his stools for 13 weeks as a 2-month-old.
Wow.
So at one point he had this going on for longer than he had been alive.
Okay.
So as a 2-month-old, that was hard for me to watch.
Yeah.
And that really caused me to do a deep dive into what was really going on.
Well,
why.
now, one of the things that I've gotten to know you, Claire, because you are the administrator for the church where I'm the senior pastor. So between you and I, we cover pretty much everything. I know you to be a very honest person. But if somebody's listening right now, they might, by A, the disclaimer that Dr. Claire doesn't want to be known as a doctor. B, she might have a precondition of hatred towards vaccines. What's that called?
bias.
A bias. I couldn't think of it.
You're welcome.
A preconditioned hatred. That you're walking in biased on vaccines to begin with, so why should we listen to you? But others will say, no, this is an honest, concerned mother who had a thing with her son, so that caused her to do additional research. Oh, by the way, she's also got a doctorate in the medical industry. Now, you're not a medical doctor, but
Right.
and that's too TMI. We don't need to get into that. But I want people to know up front, before we get into any of the minutia, that Claire does not have a built-in bias against vaccines.
Right.
She has an experience with vaccines that caused her to do research, which we thought was so cool, we'd bring it with you. Fair enough? Hostess with the mostess?
Yes.
Okay.
And that, she really felt called to be a part of the medical industry. I mean, that's a part of it too. And
Sure.
so she's just a responsible person within that ministry and a mother who, mother's intuition, that's a real thing. It's an absolutely real thing.
So Tucker's been injured. He gets healed from this. You have this vaccine thing now, and you start doing research. Where do you go next? What's the next step in the story?
Next step was re-educating myself on what was in vaccines, the schedule, all of these things that doctors aren't actually telling you. I like to talk about informed consent with vaccines.
Okay.
You take your kid to the doctor right now, and doctors a lot of time don't have the education of what's in them, and they believe what they've been told, which is a schedule to give them, and why.
What does a schedule to give them mean? What's that mean in the industry?
So the schedule is now at what age, how many doses of which vaccines that they're supposed to receive. So you and Emily, growing up, probably had 3 to 6 vaccines on your schedule.
Right.
My son now, my youngest son is 22 months old. By now, he should have had 27 doses of various vaccines.
Oh, my word. See, I didn't know that was going on. I remember polio, and I remember measles and chickenpox.
Smallpox.
Yep.
So, the various poxes.
Yeah.
There was one shot for that. It was
Not
a
the
gunshot.
monkeypox.
Yeah. No. You got the pox, you got the measles, you got the polio. You're good to go.
Yeah.
And so that people were using that to say, well, you're not really anti-vaccine, you're anti this vaccine. It's like, nah, I don't know. But 27, that's a lot.
It doesn't seem right. Just the sheer
there's
numbers
something
makes
skewed.
us go, wait a minute. The human body can't be that lacking at such a young age in order to just simply thrive and survive.
Exactly.
And so, Claire, what would you say is like the biggest thing in your opinion as far as what parents don't really realize when they're taking their kids to be vaccinated? What is it you want them to know?
So I would say 2 different things.
Okay.
Question why they are receiving a certain vaccine.
Okay.
At birth, they are supposed to receive the hepatitis B shot.
Okay.
Why? What causes? How do you get hepatitis B?
That was the first thing that popped into my mind.
Well, it has
how
something
do
to
you
do
get
with
it?
rejecting hepatitis A, but that's a whole nother story, I guess. I don't know.
So
Makes sense to me. No, what?
So,
right. My dad had hepatitis C when he was passing
he was
away.
older.
When he was passing away, that was part of the conglomerate of things that were wrong with him. I mean, my dad was one of the toughest guys ever, and it took like 7 diseases to finally break him down and get him to die when he was 81. But anyway,
Okay, so
hepatitis B, what is it and why?
So hepatitis B, if the child's mother does not have hepatitis B, you contract hepatitis B through dirty needles and sexual activity. So tell me why my newborn
would need that.
within 20 minutes to an hour of birth needs their first injection of hepatitis B
that's
vaccine.
really interesting. So, would you advise parents to do that when they walk into the doctor's office and they start talking about them? Ask your doctor
those questions.
why does my child need that, and how do people contract that disease?
Yes.
And if things aren't lining up, yeah, like maybe this isn't the path.
Well, let me
for
play
you.
devil's advocate here. Is there conflict in like getting him into school when he becomes of age, or things like that? If you're not fully vaccinated, you can't do this, you can't do that. Is that how much of that are we seeing? Because again, my youngest is 31 years old. I don't know what new parents are dealing with at all.
Yeah, so it definitely is a scare tactic. The schools will say you can't participate in school at all if you're not up to date on all of these vaccines. And depending on your state, you can get medical or religious exemptions. I think even other states have like philosophical exemptions.
Okay.
So just look into it. I know certain states are more lax
Than
or more
others.
rigorous than others.
And
yes.
your school's probably not going to tell you that. They're just going to say they need this.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
have to in order to.
Yep.
They're
So I
not going
know-
to tell you, but you could go and get an exemption if you really felt the need.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this: have you looked at all the states?
All the states know.
I mean, have you looked at enough to say that blue states are different than red states, like in some things?
Yeah,
And so it is a political thing.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now that that's political, they politicized health to that point. Is it okay for a pastor in church to talk about health, or is that too politicized now? You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all a beatdown on light and darkness fighting.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's really what's going on here. So is it better to be in a red state for vaccines for children?
For us here in Iowa, it sure is.
Yes.
Okay.
For now.
Yeah.
For now.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's one question you can ask your doctor is, why do they need it, and how does this disease get contracted? What's another thing that they could ask their doctor? What's another thing? Well, you had mentioned even the ingredients.
Yes. So that was my other wake up call.
It is,
to
okay.
Vaccines and
And stuff that's in them?
stuff that's in them.
Let me guess.
Yes.
Rotten Skittles.
How did you know?
It's the main ingredient in every vaccine, I heard. You gotta let those you gotta put the Skittles in water and get them in the sun. Let them get really. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
But seriously, there are bad stuff in the
There's
vaccines.
bad
Tell us
stuff.
a little
Talk
bit about
to us
this.
about that. Yeah.
So a lot of people are going to try and combat this with, so for instance, I'll start with formaldehyde's one of the ingredients.
That's what you'd put in dead people.
It is, yes.
Oh,
yes.
gosh.
But somebody would try in the medical field, might try and say, well, there's formaldehyde in an apple core. I have a feeling it is different when found in nature compared to the formaldehyde that we create in a lab that then use for embalming.
Yeah. And maybe that's why I don't eat the apple core.
Exactly. We know not to eat it.
There's a lot of pits that, like, the fruit's great, but the pit is
The
toxic.
pit is
Don't eat the
terrible.
pot. Don't eat the
Exactly.
pit.
The worst tasting
Exactly.
one is asbestos, but that's just me.
What are some other ingredients in these vaccines that we might not be really aware of, but we probably kind of know that doesn't sound right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
just going off my list here, we've got aluminum, there's detergents, there are antibiotics, there are proteins from other animals,
Non-human, you mean?
non-human.
You're getting injected with animal DNA is what you're saying.
Yeah. So right here I see yeast DNA, there's egg proteins,
Okay.
and then the real kicker,
yeah.
Chris, I have a feeling, Emily, you already know. Chris, what would you say MRC5 would be?
Uniformity. That's my
Love.
favorite ingredient in Pringles.
It's a dose of love.
That's my favorite Pringles ingredient. Uniformity. MRC what?
5.
C5. MRC5.
They are tissues
Okay.
from an aborted fetus, an aborted male fetus from 1966. So they have made this baby immortal. They keep reproducing that tissue and using it in the production of vaccines.
Wow.
Yeah,
and
I knew
there's
about
another one.
I knew about that.
So,
Wow.
so,
So
I
go-
don't know how can you are you able to explain to us, like, okay, so you're getting like this fractured DNA from another human being injected into your baby. What does that do to a person?
That's a great question. And I have they in the vaccine insert, and we can get into that in a little bit. The vaccine insert will tell you that supposedly it does not cause tumors. But in every vaccine insert that comes in the box
Yeah.
of the vaccine, it will tell you in section 13.1 that none have ever been tested for carcinogenic or mutagenic potential. So they have never done any study on any vaccine to see if it causes cancer in the long run, if it is mutating our cells in some way. And I feel like that would be a good thing to test.
Yeah, I think so
watch
too.
Over the long term.
Because it sounds like, if I'm understanding you correctly, they're not testing to see if this could cause tumors or cancer. And therefore, because they're not testing to see if it causes tumors or cancer, they can say, we don't know of any situations where this causes cancer or tumors. Is that kind of what they're playing there?
Right. So they have said that in lab, they don't cause tumors. But later on in every insert, they will admit that they've never tested to see if it looked
that far down the line.
Down the line, if it causes cancer.
Well, Claire Petersen is our special guest, and she is a doctor by trade, but not a medical doctor. It's more in the physical therapy, but she's a smart cookie.
She got her doctorate. That's all that matters.
Dr. Claire, and we're going to name this segment "The Doctor is In," and we're going to use Lucy's 5 cents, and that's going to be the name of the segment. So the doctor is in, and Claire, you started going down the list and talking about all these weird things that were in them. Hit that list one more time, just until you're done with it. I want to hear everything that's in these vaccines. And by the way, any of you fact checkers out there that want to say community standards and pull this show off YouTube, we haven't said anything other than just the factual information of what we found in somebody's testimony. So don't go censoring us about saying stuff that we're not saying. But I want to hear that list again. This is an actual list. Tell me where you got the list, and then hit us with the whole list as rapid fire as you can.
The whole list, and nothing but the list.
The whole list will take us an hour.
No. You know what I mean.
I'll give you the snippets here.
Yep.
But the list is found on the CDC website.
Okay.
Off the top here, sucrose, which is a corn derivative, fructose, dextrose, human serum albumin, potassium phosphate, trying to find the good ones, castor oil, yellow dye, aluminum lake dye, aluminum hydroxide, sodium chloride, formaldehyde, glycerin, citric acid, more...
Are we doing a vaccine or are we building a bomb?
I was going to say, how does...
And that's only the first three.
Yeah, how does any of this help us fight disease and sickness?
That's a great question.
Okay,
let's stop for
I'm
a second.
I'm never thinking, man, I feel like I could really use a dose of aluminum today.
Well, you can never have enough aluminium, as the Brits would say.
And how much aluminum can our body handle?
Yeah.
You know, they have done studies on aluminum causing dementia.
Oh.
It crosses that blood-brain barrier, and they can't find it in the body, but then they will find it in the brain. So how much aluminum is actually non-toxic?
And we're
unquote.
watching the rates of things like dementia in the elderly increase rapidly.
Yeah,
we're watching our country in general get sicker and sicker.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's post-COVID fog or whatever, but I have never had the loss of train of thought like I have now. We're in the middle of something, we start talking about something else. Like in the middle of talking about the wristband to go to the shirt, I completely forgot that Dion was the other part of the story. I didn't, but that's an example from earlier in the show. The point is, that happens so fast. Do you think it might be because I've got too much aluminum that's crossed over? Because something crossed over.
Or you're distracted by my beauty.
That happens. I mean, I'm just a mere mortal.
But
that happens.
Good question. That's a good question.
It's a great question.
The other good question I had is this. I have a vaccine that I believe in. I have a vaccine that I believe kept me from harm. And I believe it's something that helped eradicate a major problem, and it's called polio. So the polio vaccine, tell me the background on that and why that one works. And in my head, because look, trust me, everybody's getting played right now. I'm being played, you're being played. It's called marketing, and it's called convincing people to have a preference for something. And when you have that preference for something, how your mind changes, how you solidify, what do you change? I am not anti-vax. I am anti-lie. I don't like getting lied to. The polio vaccine, is that not a legitimate vaccine? Because to me that was. Tell me, what's your thoughts, Dr. Claire?
I'm really glad you brought that one up in particular.
I'm sure it has aluminum, some Skittles.
I mean, we could
maybe
go
some
into
bad
that.
licorice in there.
We could. But I loved what you
corn,
said about,
maybe?
about not being anti-vax. I mean, I'm not either. I started vaxing my child. I became an ex-vaxxer. So I do truly think there's a difference there.
Yeah.
But polio specifically, I read a book, I highly recommend it, called The Moth and the Iron Lung. And it's a historical book that goes back and tracks the upticks in polio in this country. And it will coincide with times in history that we were using arsenic to protect our crops from bugs, when we were giving mercury to kids for every tummy ache and every toothache they had.
Yep.
I mean, we were literally poisoning ourselves.
Yeah.
And they used this blanket term of polio for a multitude of different illnesses, not necessarily all caused by the
same
polio
thing.
virus.
So me and my
Okay.
whole family got plague, is what you're saying.
Not
No.
necessarily.
But there are a lot of different things that we, like I said, as a country, we were poisoning ourselves,
Right.
trying to keep the bugs away.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Wow, really
Yeah.
good information. So, Claire, before we let you go, there's a mom out there, listening, going either, I never knew this, I need to look into this or whatever, or there's a mom going, I suspected this all along. What do you want parents to know before they, think, yeah, I got to get my kid in and get him vaccinated?
Well, I mean,
for
they came out today.
whatever?
This is being recorded the Tuesday after Labor Day. They came back out today and said, new vaccine next month, and this one
Yeah.
actually works. Trust us.
The last
Isn't that what the
ones
president said, or
didn't,
the
but
secretary, whatever her name is? Anyway.
But what do you want parents to keep in mind before they just think, oh, I'm scared because there's a thing coming out. We need to all go get vaccinated. What do you want them to think before they just go do that?
So one of the biggest blessings in this whole journey for me was finding a doctor that looked at me after Charlie was born and said, I have a hard time believing God didn't give us everything we needed at birth. And I get it. Some people are immune compromised. Some people are going through illness. They need extra help. But just ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions about the vaccine itself, about your health. Can you withstand getting sick versus having all of these things injected into you and potentially being
Harming
injured?
you.
Yes.
Harming you. Yeah. And if the answers that you get aren't satisfactory, like just wait.
Yep.
Because you can always go back
Right.
and get the vaccine, but you can't take it out of you
Exactly.
once you've got it.
Can't get the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, really good insight. Thank you, Claire. I really appreciate because I don't feel alone.
Yeah.
You know
Well-
what I mean? Our kids went to school for a little while, and then we started homeschooling. And once we weren't going to school, those vaccines were just like, our kids were healthy. Everything's fine. There were no plagues at the time. You know what I mean? And so our kids didn't get that full schedule even back in the 80s and 90s. So a lot has changed even since then.
Absolutely.
And your insight has been really helpful. So thank you so much for doing all the legwork for us, basically.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. And remember, we're not anti-vax. Claire is a former vax. We are anti-lie. We just would like the truth.
Yep.
And apparently that's sealed until 2065 or something like that, which is insane. But much more to come. We're back with Mike Shaw, Right On, Way Off. Woo-hoo. You're listening to Emily's flagship program on freshroadmedia.com. It's called No Apology with Emily and Chris. Thank you. We are listener supported. Go to the website. Give your best gift today.
Hey, if you enjoyed listening to No Apology with Emily and Chris, if you get any encouragement from it, please consider standing with us financially. Go to freshroadmedia.com and consider giving a wonderful gift today. It is appreciated. You're listening to No Apology with Emily and Chris, and we've had, wow, what an insightful show today.
Been a fun show.
Yeah, it's been really good. And so, you know what? After talking to Dr. Claire,
Dr.
even though
Claire.
she does not go by Dr. Claire.
No, she doesn't.
But we just like to,
We have fun.
Yeah.
And she is a legit doctor. She's got a doctorate.
she
What are you
does
gonna
have her
do?
doctorate.
But she can't get your prescription for the good stuff, so slow your roll, okay?
What great information! And as we're heading into this fall now, and we're seeing the same push that we saw before rising up again.
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to stay informed. We're going to have Claire back again here real soon. If you have questions about what you've heard on the show, particularly like with the vax thing, because it's such a huge topic. Go to freshroadmedia.com, click on Beyond the Show.
No, we changed it.
Yeah, we did. What?
Sound off.
Sound off. Click on
sound off, and you can leave an
off.
audio message, which will sound like a phone call on the show. We'd
Or
love
an
to have
email.
it. Just give your name and town and leave the voicemail. You can do an email there too. But sound off, Emily's like, don't change it to that. That'll sound negative. We want people. No. So we're going to tell you positive sound off. Positive sound off.
Go ahead, sound off
I'm
as
happy.
positively as you can.
Click that button. Tell me how much you love Jesus.
Yeah, leave your questions or your comments.
Yeah, seriously, anything.
We would love to hear from you.
That's right.
Please do.
Hey, it's time for Right On Way Off. That means that Mike Shaw is in the house. He's our news director. He is also the studio producer, and he is the host of the show. Jesus is Coming Soon with Mike Shaw, found exclusively at freshroadmedia.com. Are you ready to go, Mike Shaw?
Rock and roll.
All right.
In other words, yes.
I don't know, Mike, but old Christian announcers saying rock and roll.
Yeah.
It's almost like if I walked out and mic drop, it's like we've aged out of that, bro. It doesn't work for us anymore.
Gnarly, dude.
All right, Emily, your show. Go for it.
It's totally age appropriate. It's totally age appropriate.
Hey,
okay.
Would you like my wristband?
Yeah. Okay. Let's make the wristband part of Right On Way Off. Okay.
No, you're
yes,
not.
Yes, we are.
All
right.
Chris's wristband. We're going to start with you, Chris, and you got
Okay.
like 30 seconds. Chris's wristband. I don't even have a question in my head. Chris's wristband could be worn by Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. Right on or way off? Show us your wristband.
That would be great.
Your man bracelet.
Yeah, my man.
Your man bracelet. That's a little old, a little
If you
dated.
don't want to know more,
tired.
go back to the beginning of the show and listen to it. I'm right now in my broadcast terrestrial radio self wanting to reset the table because new listeners have just joined.
No one's fast forwarding.
Yeah, look, this thing is a gift that somebody gave me back when these things with the chain meal. I called it chain meal and misspoke, and Emily's just been hounding me. The chain mail and all that stuff. This would be about $150 custom built wristband back in the day. A guy made it for me. And he said because Jesus used Emily and I's show in the morning to change his life. And so this wristband, what was the question, Em? On Right On Way Off?
As sentimental as it is,
Yeah.
It should be worn by Aragorn in Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely.
Right on or way
right
off?
on. Gimli should get his. Legolas should have his.
Oh, Gimli definitely would have it.
Each hobbit should get their own.
All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of
My
hobbits,
precious.
Mike Shaw. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you're precious.
I'm wearing shoes. Come on.
Mike Shaw, what do you think? Right on, way off? Can
Well,
you see that on Aragorn?
Aragorn.
or
Yeah, I'll go
Gimli?
right on with that. Sure. Sure.
right.
Now, he
So-
would have his own because that
Okay.
has sentimental value for Chris.
Yeah.
You know, it was a
Well, it
gift.
was custom for
It was
me.
custom for Chris.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you can't
his would-
buy this.
Right.
I mean, this guy made
Yeah.
this thing.
His
He
would
put-
glow
yeah.
green when necessary.
Yes.
Probably. I don't know.
Probably.
It's
His
actually
would
blue,
probably-
and orcs have to be. You don't even know the narrative.
His would probably be worth more than $150.
Plug in, Emily.
If the orcs are near, the blade turns blue. What are you talking about?
That's handy.
It is handy.
That does come in handy. I'm going to use this to pivot.
Okay.
Your shirt with the
Yeah.
snake.
Yeah.
Satan. So, isn't there a story in the Bible where Moses was told to hold up a snake?
Yes.
And if the Israelis beheld it, they would be healed?
It was a forerunner to the cross, wasn't it?
It was also a forerunner to the symbol of the physicians
Yeah.
with the two
Yeah.
snakes wrapped around a pole.
Because
With-
healing would come.
And the
Because
staffs.
healing would come.
The staffs throw it on the
Right.
ground, and
Yeah.
his staff turned into a snake and ate all the other little
See?
snakes from the wizards.
I'd be wearing that shirt every day to
this
Bible study.
sounds like Lord of
Yeah.
the Rings.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
It
and
does.
then all my enemies in my mind, I'll name them Janus and Jambres. That was the one who threw down the thing that Moses' staff snake ate their staff snake.
All right.
Very
That
good.
it was their names, Janus and Jambres. Anyway,
All right.
you
So
don't.
I think
you,
I'm
you don't
still
see
right
a lot.
on.
Of, you don't see a lot of little boys being named Jambres. I'm just saying.
No, you don't.
Anyway.
Or Nimrod.
You don't see a lot of Dorcases out there either.
Yeah. Little Judas, get in here. Judas, get in here. Pick up your toys. right, next
right.
question.
Okay, next question. This is a quote by, I believe it was Nelson Mandela. I don't know, but let me know what you
What
think
does it
about
matter?
this. I know, right?
We're professionals. It could be somebody.
it's
We
a
don't know.
Facebook
It's a
quote.
quote.
It's a quote.
I got it on Facebook.
But it's an interesting quote, and I just want to get your guys' feedback as far as whether right on, way off. I think I know the answer. But anyway, he says, no single person, no body of opinion, no political doctrine, and no religious doctrine can claim a monopoly on truth. Right on or way off? Mike Shaw.
That is so way off. Oh my goodness.
really?
That is so way off. All right, go to Fresh Road.
Man, that is so far off. Men sound like females.
It happened, didn't it?
I have like 6 gender jokes, but in our culture, we can't do them. Go ahead, Mike.
Peter Brady over
Go to
here.
freshroadmedia.com, click
Peter
on
Brady.
Bible Idiots, and watch Pastor's sermon from Sunday. You need to. Your Bible is 100% authentically the holy word of God.
Yeah, it is.
I was not expecting him to go to your sermon, Chris,
Yeah,
but
well,
he did. And it's true.
It's
Yeah,
exactly
it's good.
true. So if there is absolute truth, it's in the Bible. It's God Himself, and so that is so way off.
Yeah, so way off. I'm with Mike on that. The Bible, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. It is a truth claim that separates us from everybody and makes a lot of people hate us.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say about Christianity is this, why it makes it so worthwhile. Because it's obvious that God's real. I mean, anybody who denies it's a fool, according to scriptures. And God says, listen, there's enough of me in nature that I don't have to even give you my word, but I'm doing it anyway.
Right.
And so we have to stand firm on that because we know it's true.
We do know it's true. And Jesus Himself said, I am truth. Not like I point you to truth or I'm a demonstration of truth or let me tell you truth. He said, I am truth.
I just had that aluminum take my mind blood over to the wrong side that Claire talked about, and I forgot.
Pass the aluminum, please.
Christianity is the only religion in the world that, and I don't know who your anonymous quote is and why you would just pull Nelson Mandela out of nowhere. I got an anonymous quote. I'm going to say Jimmy Carter.
Never said it was, I never said it was an anonymous quote. It's a quote, and I think that's who I got it from.
Oh, but see, you're not sure. Anyway.
Yeah.
Christianity is the only religion on earth, and you can quote me on this, and you don't have to give me credit, just say this to your atheist agnostic friends in the end times. If we are living in the end times and you're not sharing the gospel, you don't really believe we're in the end times, because everybody shares the gospel if they actually believe we're in the end times. It's you can't help but not if you really believe that. Christianity is the only religion where God works His way down to us while we're yet sinners. Christ died for us. So He's coming down to get us, to find us, to pursue us. All the other religions in the world, through some sort of behavior modification, they work their way up towards God, and they never get there. This is why James talks about, you want to see my works, you'll see my faith. You want to see my faith, you'll see my works. This is why false Christianity, fake conversions, turn into performance-based Christianity, where it's all based on how you look, how you sound, and how you do these certain behavior modifications that then you know you're a Christian. And that gets people off base. Then you've got the other folks that understand the incredible grace of God working His way to you, and now I can then go sin and do anything I want because I'm forgiven. Christ forgave all from the beginning. So that's where an authentic walk with Christ, knowing that He is the truth, leads you to a path of He's my great Savior, and out of good old-fashioned gratitude, I don't want to keep being the sinful person in the room.
Yeah.
Look, Satan's going to come in and attack your world. I don't know what your world is. Emily doesn't know it. Mike doesn't know it, but he's coming to attack your world. Today, don't let it be you. That's my prayer. Don't let it be me, God, because you think that we can't stumble and fall and get out of alignment with God for 10 minutes and all of a sudden it happens.
The Bible says
that's why we have grace for each other.
Right.
Exactly. What were you going to say, Mike?
The insidiousness of that anonymous quote. It's already setting up the stage, saying, "Oh, you're fine the way you are."
Yeah.
There's many different ways, and so you don't have to change, and you don't have to come under any authority of truth if there is no truth, or if it's situational truth. And so that quote just by itself is insidious to keep people from even coming to the truth.
Yeah,
Right,
well, and
exactly.
what it does, when you hear that quote on its face value, when you don't have the deep Jesus truth, It sounds good.
Yeah.
It sounds open-minded. It sounds like this is what the intelligent community would talk about. I want to be part of the intelligent community. That sounds great. And that's what happens to folks.
Yeah.
But when you know that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, you know that statement is way off immediately.
Yeah.
It's just like to learn how to spot counterfeit bills, you don't study other counterfeit bills. You study the original so much that as soon as you see something that's not right, you spot it right away because you know the original.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Back to you, Em.
So, God can claim a monopoly on truth because he's God and Jesus is God. So, very good. I love that. You guys are on top of it.
Yes.
Now we're going to go back and see how wise was Grandma when she said, and this kind of ties into what Claire was talking about. We were talking about the health industry. Grandma used to say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Is that right on or way off?
Right on.
Okay. Okay.
Right on.
Apple lover over here.
No, but it's got formaldehyde in it, and I hear that's good for me. So.
That's right. The core has formaldehyde.
And I hear that's what keeps the bugs away. So give me a little more of that. No, nutrition is key. There was a documentary made, I'm going to say 15 years ago. I still hadn't made my documentaries yet. I wanted to, so I was studying documentaries. So this was one that was in the mix. And it's called Forks Over Knives. And it was doctors who talked about if you eat better nutrition, you can cut most of heart disease out in America. I mean, instead of knives cutting people open, eat forks, forks over knives, get it?
Eat forks.
Forks over knives. And then there was another guy from Australia who had a documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which made all of us go out and buy juicers. And it did.
Not just any juicers, but his juicers.
Hey, one of the big juicer companies actually sponsored Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead too.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
And that's basically a juicer commercial. That second documentary. Anywho, but it was good information. So nutrition is a key thing in keeping the doctor away. So I'm going right on.
All right, Mike Shaw.
Yeah, you ready to go down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, let's go down the rabbit hole.
Okay, so first of all, it's way off.
Okay.
It's the formaldehyde, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Not enough aluminum.
If you don't have asbestos, what are you really doing?
The brain barrier. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right on. All right.
You need that fiber, right?
All right. So you're way off.
I'm way off, and let me explain why.
All right.
So I've been finding out a lot of stuff. I'm pursuing my doctorate on YouTube, and so I've been watching a lot of videos. I'm actually on the carnivore diet right now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
if people don't know what the carnivore diet is, it's where people only eat meat. And then they start a cult-like experience on Facebook.
Where we affirm each other's delusions.
Yes,
correct.
that's right.
Yes.
Okay, so you're doing the carnivore diet.
So I'm
Doing
doing
the
the
carnivore
diet.
cult, and what's going on?
So and it's a huge community. The people who have switched to mainly meat and animal products. It's not just meat.
Yeah.
And you can I'm having avocados because I love avocados, and they're not really that bad for you.
They're not on the bad list.
They're not on the bad
every
list.
diet that has its little name has a good list and a bad list.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, so the theory goes, vegetables have anti-nutrients. And so when you have something that's loaded with vitamin C, your body's not going to absorb it anyway. Your body does not need fiber. Your body can't digest fiber. It does nothing with fiber. It just passes through. That's not good for your digestive system. Also, let's see what else.
My whole life is a lie right now.
Yes, that's right. That's what I'm saying. So there are so many people in this community on the carnivore diet, not only the weight loss, because you can lose weight a lot of different ways, but they've healed their eczema is a huge one. Their hair is turning less gray. You have people who their arthritis is gone, their headaches are gone, their migraines are gone. Their mom got out of prison and the dog ran back home. So it's
husband sobered up and everything's good now.
So now, additionally to
got the pickup truck out of the shop. Everything worked out great.
So since we switched to the food pyramid scheme in the 80s, with carbs at the bottom, carbs turn directly into glucose and sugar in your body. Your body only has so much storage for that. Usually, your muscles. If you have a lot of muscles, you have a sink for carbs. If you don't exercise, a lot of us have jobs where we sit down. I'll be editing when we're done with the show.
Yep.
And so when you get older, or if you don't use them, your muscles go away. You run out of storage. You start building up fat. You get fatty liver. You get fat around your organs. And so that's what the way they told us to start eating in the 80s has done to us.
Yeah.
And so if you go on carnivore and you start building muscle, or even keto is okay, and you start building muscle, then you'll have more reservoir for carbs. So you could add carbs back in, preferably fruit.
Right.
And so yeah,
it all works.
No apples for me.
It's all science-y. And
Yeah,
the interesting thing is, though, I mean, I don't know when this phrase actually came into being, but I do remember a time when finding, fresh fruits and vegetables was not an easy thing.
Yeah.
And people suffered scurvy and things like that because people weren't eating enough fruit. And so it's all about balance and looking at how God has given us all types of food for all types of people in all types of regions and climates around the world in order to thrive and survive. And those particular things do have things in them that help them survive. I'll give you another example.
Please.
That sounded really sarcastic, I gotta say.
Please, Emily, can we please hear another one?
No, but the Native
joke.
Americans up in Alaska, they eat whale blubber. And at first, a lot of people think, whale blubber, what's, what? And it's actually the way they use it and preserve it. It is very good. And not only that, but they have to eat it to stay warm. If they literally stop eating whale blubber, they will just be cold all the time.
Yeah, when we had it, we would cube it, and then we would microwave it and then eat it like popcorn.
Like it's crispy, like
and,
popcorn.
And it was just fantastic. And you literally, felt better.
So that's one of the examples of how carnivore got started way back in a century and a half ago. Explorers came down from the Arctic Circle who had been living with the Inuits, and they'd been eating meat and fat. And they've thrived on it and went into ketosis as a result. You become fat-fueled. And so when they're eating the fat, that's literally, instead of being sugar-fueled, they're fat-fueled.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the arguments for the carnivore diet and why it's so helpful.
To help certain people.
Because processed carbs is what most Americans eat.
That's the thing right there.
Well,
That's
look,
the thing
everything
right there.
comes down to hydration, nutrition, and portion control and exercise. That's it.
Diet and exercise.
No, that's it. Those four
It is,
things.
yeah.
Hydrate and sleep is another one. If you get rotten sleep,
Sleep's good.
Look, there was a doctor who told a friend of mine who told me, and this was like 10 years ago, and it's stuck with me. If you have an incredibly rotten diet, just crap, just garbage you're eating all the time, just chips and McDonald's, and that's all you do, pizzas and frozen pizzas and banquet chicken and that stuff, there is no exercise program on the planet that can keep you thin because of the preservatives and the other toxins that are in some of these manufactured foods.
I think that's a lot of it.
27 countries refuse to have any food imports from America. From the United States of America. It's illegal to bring anything in.
Because it's so corrupted.
Because of
GMOs.
the garbage, whatever it is. You can put in any letters you want on
They
it.
have anti-GMO laws in the EU.
Yeah, it's not just GMO. There's other things. I mean, there's just a host of things. Our McDonald's fries have 27 ingredients in them. British McDonald's fries have 4.
3. Potatoes, salt, and oil.
In-N-Out
and
has
uniformity.
In-N-Out has 2.
Yeah, In-N-Out
I
has
wonder
2.
where there's
Potato,
a line
oil,
around their
salt.
building.
No. Why do you need 27 ingredients in French fries in America?
Yeah, it's just like what Claire was talking about. Why do we need aluminum and formaldehyde and
in
stuff
your fries
for a disease that you can only get as a grown adult?
Right.
It's crazy.
Well,
It's
thanks for
crazy.
playing Right On Way Off with us again, Mike, and good luck on your new show. It's getting some traction. It's Jesus is Coming Soon with Mike Shaw, and that is also at freshroadmedia.com, so we're glad that you are with us. Emily, final thoughts you want to have on your show today?
Now I'm craving salmon from Alaska. and never mind the fact they have a blueberry patch in Alaska that's the size of New Jersey.
Yeah, that's right.
And so blueberries are huge up
serious.
there. They eat a lot of seaweed, stuff like that. So I'm craving that cuisine again. I could go for some halibut. Ooh. Anyway.
Well, we'll leave
that's
Emily in
all.
her cravings. I'll take the show out.
Let's
Thank you so much for being a part of it. Don't forget, go to Sound Off. There's a Sound Off button at freshroadmedia.com. We want you to go and leave your name and town and tell us what's on your mind.
Yeah.
Anything under the sun, Christianity. Positive is encouraged, but if you need to go negative and you need to get something off your chest, we are the safe spot for you to do that. And look, you can rip on me all you want, tell me how bad I am, but if you talk bad about my wife, I need to know your exact address, and then I'll come and share Jesus with you. But that's going to do it for us. On behalf of my best friend and bride, Emily, my name is Chris. You get into the Word of God today, and you go and serve your King.